1823, West Africa, a scroll that opens states that Gezo, a young king, has been crowned of the Kingdom of Dahomey. The Mahi people have joined forces with their rivals, the Oyo Empire, to kidnap Dahomey villagers and sell them as slaves to European traders. The Agojie, an army of Dahomey women warriors under the command of General Nanisca, are tasked with defending their kingdom. The Agojie infiltrate a Mahi village and kill the troops before rescuing the imprisoned people. In the morning, the Agojie mourn the dead and take the prisoners back home. The warriors return home before the arrival of Moroyo, and Gezo regards Nanisca as his most trusted soldier. Nawi, a young woman, is taken to an older, more violent guy who expresses interest in marrying her. The man smacks Nawi when she doesn't respond, and she pushes him until he falls over. Furious, he declines to wed her. Nawi's father takes her to the Agojie and presents her to the king. Agojie, a soldier from Agojie, takes her in. The bodies of their fellow Oyo troops are discovered by General Obaade's men. They strategize their next move against Dahomey while Obaade insults them for allowing their fellow warriors to be killed by women. Talking about the Oyo threat, Gezo addresses his council. Nanisca also mentions the slave trade, claiming that selling off their own people puts a terrible shade on their kingdom. She suggests that they trade in gold or palm oil. Before making a choice, Gezo instructs Nanisca to explain to him how much palm oil they can produce. Nanisca's right-hand woman, Amenza, speaks to the arriving Agojie recruits and cautions them that they will fight and maybe lose their life defending their kingdom. A number of women depart. But Nawi and a sizable group decide to stay. Agojie then instructs Nawi to take a bath, which she does and interacts with Nanisca directly. The women start their training. Nawi feels she should begin with a weapon that is blades, so she doesn't understand why they start with ropes. Until Nanisca allows her to try decapitating a wooden statue. Nanisca slices off Nawi's head in one swing since the sword is too heavy for her. Agojie speaks to Nawi at night, telling her how her mother let men mistreat her until she fought back. Later on, the women continue their training by jogging, shooting guns, and learning combat skills. Nawi plays a prank and blows up a small explosive on one of the statues. She accepts responsibility for her actions as Nanisca chastises her. Later, Agojie tells Nawi of Nanisca's legendary achievements, including how she climbed to her position after being left for dead as a hostage. Amenza makes a visit to Nanisca in her hut and informs her, using special nuts, that she sees someone from Nanisca's past returning for her. Nanisca stands outside and watches Nawi practice her sword skills on one of the statues. The Oyo arrive at the kingdom's gates, ready to meet Gezo. Nanisca gets nervous as Obaade walks forward, because he raped her multiple times while she was a hostage. They order tributes and request 40 Agojie warriors, but Gezo only allows 20. Nanisca informs Amenza that her vision was correct. Portuguese settlers arrive in Africa, under the leadership of Captain Santo Ferreira and his friend Malik, whose mother is Dahomey. Malik is terrified when he sees the native people who have been captured. As the Agojie confronts the Oyo, the men enter the scene. Nanisca gives Obaade the severed heads of his men, declaring that they would not offer them tributes. When fighting breaks out between the two tribes, Nawi sees a chance to break free the prisoners, which Nanisca claims goes against their purpose. After they make their getaway, Nanisca chastises Nawi for it, but Amenza quietly informs Nanisca that she was the one who broke from the plan since she was more focused on killing Obaade. Obaade and his warriors meet with Ferreira and Malik to discuss preparations for the Oyo to join forces with other tribes to invade Dahomey and seize more villages to sell off. Malik seemed to be uncomfortable with the news. Later, he walks to the lake to bathe, when Nawi discovers him, naked. She accuses him of being a slaver, but he denies it and informs her of his Dahomey origin. He gives her a piece of jewelry before she returns to the others. The kingdom hosts a little tournament in which the Agojie trainees must navigate an obstacle course of thorn bushes, climb a wall, combat opponents, and finally decapitate one of the statues. Nawi emerges victorious, and Gezo appreciates her competence and talent. Later, Nanisca senses something on Nawi's arm as she is attending to her wounds. As she returns to her room, Nanisca follows her and asks about young she had long since given up on, since she is starting to think Nawi might be that child. Ferreira tells Gezo that his wealth come from the slave trade and that without them, His country would be nothing and defenseless as he discusses his intentions to perhaps stop Dahome's involvement in the slave trade. In response, Gezo says that the Europeans are likewise vulnerable if they are no longer useful to him. As Ferreira was speaking to Gezo, Agojie noticed that Nawi seemed to be getting along with Malik. A totem is given to Malik by Nawi to keep him safe when they subsequently meet in secret. She takes one of his knives as he says he has nothing more to give. When Nawi goes to take a shower, Nanisca walks into her and chastises her for sneaking off to see Malik. Nanisca approaches Nawi after they have argued and tells her about the kid she abandoned. She was a victim of rape, and Amenza assisted Nanisca in hiding and giving her away. Nanisca remembers cutting the child's left arm and putting a shark tooth in it. Nanisca slices into Nawi's arm and extracts the tooth, indicating that Nawi is her daughter, and hence Obaade's daughter as well. Nawi flees in disbelief. The next morning, Nanisca and several of her warriors keep a watch on the oil camp. They set fire to their gunpowder, resulting in repeated explosions that scare their horses and leave them defenseless. The Agojie launch an attack, starting an aggressive and brutal struggle that claims the lives of numerous Oyo and Agojie while capturing a number of the women, including Agojie and Nawi. On a wagon traveling away, Nawi discovers that the woman's ties have come loose, and she advises her to get off the cart and escape back to Dahomey. While held captive, Nawi assists Agojie in attempting to repair her broken arm. The young woman returns for Dahomey and tells Nanisca about the Oyo's strategy to exact revenge on the Agojie. Although Nanisca is promoted by Gezo and is forbidden from acting further, she and Amenza go behind his back to save the others. Upon the arrival of the European enslavers, Agojie and Nawi engage in combat. Nevertheless, Agojie is shot mortally and passes away in Nawi's arms as she mourns for her sister. While Nawi is in prison, Malik visits her and informs her that the prisoners are headed for England, promising to keep her safe. It's hinted that they will make love later. In preparation for an assault, Nanisca leads the warriors into the European camp. Before releasing the prisoners, they attack the guys and set fire to their camp. After Malik frees the prisoners and turns on Ferreira, they drag him into the river, beat him, and keep his head under until he drowns. When Nanisca finally faces up against Obaade, Nawi assists her in fighting. When the man tries to beat Nanisca, she overwhelms him, impales him, and kills him. After everyone gets back home, Nawi and Malik split up. When the Agojie bring their prisoners back home, Gezo meets Nanisca. He is grateful to her for bringing an end to the Oyo Empire even though he realizes that she defied his commands, and he formally elevates her to the title of Woman King. Everyone applauds her. Nanisca travels with Nawi to pay her respects to Agojie. After then, she refers to Nawi as her daughter. The two proceed to dance in joy with the others.